Now, over the past few days, I've been having a tinker around with my draft, and I think I've completely changed what I'm planning to do for game week 1. So I thought I'd make a video and inform you guys of my changes for the upcoming season. Now, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 16,000 subscribers before the start of the new FPL season. It was originally 15, we smashed through that. Let's see if we can get to 16 as well. Plenty more content coming up over the next few weeks on the channel as well. So as you can see, let's start off first with our backline. And what I've gone for here is DEFCON Central. I think this thing is honestly going to be absolutely revolutionary for the game. I think it's going to completely change the landscape of how we set up our teams, how we pick defenders, and which players we just pretty much leave in the teams as set and forget. So what I've done here is select all the defenders that I think, have decent defences. Like, I think, Everton are a good defence, Forest are a good defence, Fulham are okay, Palace have always been one of those teams that have done exceptionally well for the XG conceded, and of course left a 6 million defender slot in there as well. So we can, of course, rotate around the more premium defenders that aren't as high up for DEFCON, but definitely, play for those teams. I think if Gabriel is fit and available probably from match day 6, I would probably swap out Van Dijk for Gabriel, just given he's got that aerial presence. Of course, Arsenal look for him from every single set piece. So again, just gives me that ability to swap round the 6 millions as well. But Tarkowski is starting to play some minutes in pre-season now, so that's good to see. That was, of course, one of the concerns heading into game week 1. That one has now been ratified, so now I'm seeing it. I'm expecting him to start the season, so I'm feeling pretty confident on that one. Of course, if he does, pick up maybe another injury or he's not quite fully fit ahead of match day 1, I don't think I would switch to Branthwaite either. I think that defence needs both Tarkowski and Branthwaite as the two centre-backs to get the most out of it. Sanchez in goal at 5 million as well. Feels like a really good deal, to be honest. You're buying into the third best side for XG conceded last year. I think Chelsea as well, they've added some new defensive additions. I think they're just going to be stronger, build on that, and be a really solid team. But like I said, I've gone very heavy on the DEFCON, and there's a reason for that. One of the people that has been posting constantly on Twitter about DEFCON and is doing an exceptionally good job of explaining it to people is going to be Tom Hadley. He's posting some absolutely cracking stuff. As you can see, this graphic on screen right here. I'll leave a link to his Twitter in the description, but make sure you're going and following him. He did really well one year as well, a couple of years ago. I think he maybe was first at one point. But yeah, the guy's an absolute genius. He's putting together some absolutely cracking content that is, like I said, completely changing the way that I feel about DEFCON. And here is the reason why. This post that he's done is the defenders that have hit 4 or more points and how often they did it, including the DEFCON points from last season. So as you can see, topping that list is going to be Branthwaite. 18 times the guy managed to hit 4+ points, 64% like over 4 points. Like, this is what I mean about it completely changing the game. No longer are we going to be thinking, you know what, I might go for that risky 6.5 or 5.5 midfielder that occasionally scores. I'm thinking this year, John Ayres, people looking at Marlon as well, obviously Adingra. How many times does Adingra score? Like, maybe a couple times? But these guys, 18 times over the course of the season, have hit that 4-point threshold or above, which is absolutely ridiculous. Same with Milenkovic from last season. Nico Williams as well at 5 million. So if you are looking for maybe a little bit of a cheaper route into that Forest defence, he could be a decent one. Lacroix, Tarkowski with a 52% chance. So that means just over half of his games, he's going to be hitting 4 or above points. This is what I mean about it completely changing the game. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at, the traditional way of playing was like a free back. You rotate your defenders with the best fixtures. Now I'm thinking, do we even bother rotating? We just pick these defenders that have the high probability of getting the DEFCON points and just stick with them regardless, thick or thin, and probably even playing 4 or 5 backs this season. If they've all got great fixtures, they've all got the possibility of DEFCON, why not play a 5 back? Because imagine all that 5 clicks 4 or more points up in that 1 week. That's going to be better than these kind of like mid-price mids like the Adingras of the world. For me personally, it feels better spending that money there, or same with like a cheap forward. Like, how often is Strand Larson going to score this season? is it worth just picking up one of these guys that every other week is picking up above 4 points? This is what I mean about a complete shift in the way that I'm playing the game. As you can see, a lot of the players that I've got on here do feature on this list. So Tarkowski is there. We've got Van Dijk, again, near close to 50%, picking up the 4+ threshold. Murillo's on there as well. Gabriel, the other player that I would be looking at if he is fit and available. Richards, Anderson as my 2 4.5s. I'm not bothered about rotating the fixtures like I used to be in previous seasons. I'm just playing and I'm thinking, if they're going to pick me up DEFCON points, why not just go for it? Like I said, it's going to be a complete change to the way that I think a lot of people are going to be playing the games. So get yourself on this and get yourself following FPL Tom Hadley as well. Heading into my midfield then, and I'm pretty set on this as a kind of 5 in midfield, to be honest. It's not changed over the past few drafts. If you've watched the last few videos, you know this has been a pretty set and forget way of playing the game that I've gone for here with this one. We'll come back to Elliot Anderson and the DEFCON as well. We've got another great graphic from FPL Tom Hadley on that one, but Salah and Palmer are going to be my 2 premiums to start the season. I just think play it a little bit safe this year. We went with obviously no Haaland last year. We got absolutely ripped apart at the start of the season. I think it might be even harder this year to potentially claw things back with, of course, the additional transfers, with people having more chips as well. It's probably going to make it a little bit more difficult to potentially claw back some kind of, masterstroke of not going without Salah. I just think it's the way to go. Bournemouth have been absolutely ripped apart at the back in terms of their numbers. Looks like Zabani is going to be leaving as well, so that could be an absolute feast session for Mohamed Salah. So he's going to be our captain, probably going to be the most captained player as well come game week 1. So just gives us that little bit of cover, I feel, as well. Cole Palmer's fixtures and Chelsea's fixtures over the opening 6 to 7 game weeks are delicious. He also offers up a great alternative captain for Mohamed Salah if we don't want to, of course, captain him over the next few weeks as well. We've got Cole Palmer there. Again, a very consistent player, penalty taker. I'm a big fan with the fixtures coming up. And Dye as well has the potential to be a talisman this season. We've also found a forward that rotates quite nicely with the Everton forwards as well. So during his more difficult games, as you'll see when we get onto the forwards, we have found somebody that I think rotates quite nicely. Good opening fixture as well. I think the opening 3 are actually pretty decent. And I definitely think there's going to be a step up in terms of Everton's performances this year. David Moyes is definitely going to want that team to kick on a little bit. Probably be a little bit more attacking. And I think Ndai is going to be a big part of that as well, especially if he can nail down those penalties as well. Could be a potential talisman coming in the game at 6.5 million. There's also some other great options as well there that, of course, we can just move around if we didn't want to stick with Ndai. Then finally, it is going to be Morgan Rogers having a pretty decent pre-season. I know a lot of the hype is going towards Marlon at the moment at 5.5, but I think for me, I would just stick with Rogers early doors, pick those players that aren't going to be minutes risks, and I definitely think Morgan Rogers isn't one of those. 19 goal involvements in, of course, 37 games last year. Even when he was playing like Europe midweek, he would still be straight in the lineup as well. So I think, like I said, he is just one of those players that is an absolute set and forget. And with the Villa fixtures looking so strong at the start of the year, I think, honestly, Aston Villa definitely going to be a team to target for this upcoming campaign. Let's move back then to Elliot Anderson. As you can see here, coming in at 5.5 million. And I think a lot of people that are switched on are starting to realise how good a value this guy is. Again, we've got another graphic from FPL Tom Hadley. And as you can see here, Elliot Anderson is 4th or 5th on this list here. He picked up 8 attacking returns last year, but in 52% of his games, he managed to get 4+ points. This is what I'm saying. This is just like, it's a little bit of a boring way to play the game, I would say. But what you're going to be getting is just players that now are just consistently churning out 4. Like, it's just going to be ridiculous. You're going to have players that are going to just constantly be churning out 4 to 5 points every other week. And over probably a longer time period, they're going to absolutely smash the likes of a Dingra or smash these other 6.5s that are a little bit minutes risky or, a little bit more attacking. They're honestly going to absolutely destroy them with the DEFCON numbers that these guys are putting up. So, yeah, 52% is genuinely wild, like honestly wild, the amount of returns. Like I said, he for me just feels like a player you can just put in the team. He'll just pick you up points constantly. Some other interesting names on here as well is going to be Bruno Fernandes. He hit the 4-point threshold in 55% of his games and was very, very good for DEFCON last year. Maybe at 9 million, it is a little bit steep. But I am starting to warm a little bit towards Bruno Fernandes. I think if the United fixtures were better, I think a lot more people potentially would be on him. But with, of course, playing, they've got, is it Arsenal? They've got City. They've got Chelsea within that opening set of fixtures. It's just, to me, like, yeah, I don't want to go there yet. I think once they get those difficult games out the way, probably we'll start to look at Bruno Fernandes. We'll probably have a better understanding of what the DEFCON system is looking like as well. But he could be one of those that, eventually throughout this season, we're going to be looking at as well in terms of that as well. Some other interesting names that do, of course, stand out to me on this list as well. Christian Norgard, obviously, was Brentford's kind of breakup player. They've now got Jordan Henderson at that 5 million mark, so maybe there's going to be some other ones as well. I know a few people have been speaking about Rice as well, potentially being one of those as well. 47% games, hitting that 4+ threshold as well. Interestingly, Damsgaard on there with his 12 attacking returns. I'm not sure what his DEFCON numbers look like, but again, he is going to be on set pieces. He is a player that I have been potentially touting around as well during the course of this pre-season. But yeah, again, another one to take on board with these defensive midfielders for me. I think DEFCON is going to honestly completely change the way that we view assets and the way that we completely change the game that we're going to play as well this season. Okay, let's finish up the team then and talk through my strikers. We've got Mateta and Watkins. Both of these guys absolutely flying over the course of pre-season. We've also got Mark Gui, I'm going to go with, but we're going to just call him Mark just to play it safe. Let's start off first then with Mateta. We've been obviously playing around with Dominic Solanke. Again, not involved in Spurs' pre-season game, so that does worry me. Not even featuring on the bench. So I'm a little bit concerned about potentially going with Solanke. If, though, he does start to see some minutes over the course of pre-season, he is going to be the forward that I'm going to go with. Son leaves means that he's on penalties. 7.5 feels like he's massively undervalued. But Mateta, like I said, rotates really nicely around the Ndai fixtures as well. And like I said, has been absolutely slapping the goals in over the course of pre-season. Now, personally for me, I don't think, pre-season goals mean absolutely anything. I've seen it so many times with my own club at Mansfield. A player looks really good in pre-season. Then you start to get into the competitive games and people have levels. Like when they're building the fitness, they'll be at a certain level. When they get into those competitive games where points matter, tackles actually start flying in, that's where you really see where people's levels are. But Mateta, we know what he's capable of. The guy's a very solid player for minutes. The only concern I do have is, of course, those penalties just aren't quite there. The other option I was looking at was at 7.5 was, of course, Chris Wood. Could be another potential option with Forest's great fixtures to start the season. Watkins, though, at 9 million fills me with a lot of confidence. The guy got 16 goals last year. After the Newcastle game, the fixtures are just immense. Really, really immense. And I think it gives me a lot of time to see how good an asset Gyökeres, maybe after match day 1, and we're like, we've got to get this guy in for Leeds. He's going to be the captain for that week. Maybe it gives me that option. That's the option there. Or maybe it's, I can just stick with Watkins. The fixtures are good. I can then assess what the other forwards are doing. Maybe there's going to be, Isak to Liverpool potentially on the cards. We might need to fish some money up there. We're only 1.5 million away from being able to do that. So that's, of course, an option there as well with that Watkins placeholder. But I think he's just an exceptional asset, and I think a lot more people should be starting the season with Ollie Watkins in their team going forward for this season. And then the final asset, like I said, is going to be Mark. He's coming in at 4.5 million, a recent transfer to Sunderland. If we get a 5.5 million forward, like Muniz potentially going to Leeds, I think would maybe be the one that maybe potentially tries to get me to up that money a little bit, and maybe we downgrade a Virgil van Dijk potentially out of this side, or maybe an Ndai down to potentially another DEFCON merchant in the forms of midfield. But for right now, we're going to go with him. We'll see what his minutes are like over pre-season, but the expectation was that he is going to play games this season for Sunderland, so yeah, I don't mind it too much. Let's head over then to Fantasy Football Hub and take a look at what the team has scored. As you can see here, the best AI rating I've actually received from a team, it is 95%. So I'll take that. I'm pretty happy with that. It seems like the AI really, really likes my tool. Of course, if you want to go and check this out for yourself, this is an amazing feature that is completely free on their website, by the way. Go and check it out. It lets you as well just flick through the team as well to see how it's looking for game week 2. Game week 3 as well. I really like it. Obviously, the team is looking pretty good across those opening few weeks as well. It also gives you, of course, transfer recommendations. So if it's not sure on, certain players, it's not a big fan of Tarkowski, it's going to recommend a potential replacement as well there. Like I said, link in the description to Fantasy Football Hub's amazing website. There's so many great tools And honestly, this is the best time to sign up in my personal opinion. You get yourself all the information you need, what players you need to be targeting over the course of pre-season. And like I said about the DEFCON here, Anderson here is scoring pretty similar to Ndai and Rodgers, and this guy's at 5.5 million. So just take note of those DEFCON points. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. As always, your support is massively appreciated on the channel, and the best of luck in game week 1.